What's up, Eagles Nation? What's going on, NFL world? How you doing, division rivals? This is Steven Hyder with Gate City Sports Channel, the sports channel where the cerebral NFL fan comes for about 10 minutes of daily content. All right, guys, today's discussion is a preview. I'm going to preview this Chicago Bears and Philadelphia Eagles matchup, which I personally think is going to be a dogfight. Look, what we got to keep in mind with this game is that there are always these outside storylines and these outside, motivations, intrinsic motivations that can make a team rise above its own ability. We've seen this last week with the Eagles with all the chaos in our locker room and the fact that our guys wanted to prove that a lot of this crap is BS, and they went out there and handled their business. They played probably above really what their level was a little bit. Now, on the flip side to this, Chicago lost in very ugly fashion during the playoffs last year. I mean, they lost in heartbreaking fashion. It wasn't that the score was ugly, it was the way in which they lost was ugly. And that's going to be a big motivator here. So I have to think that this team is going to be highly motivated to square off with the Philadelphia Eagles. All right, guys, I'm going to get into a little bit of the X's and O's. Okay, guys, welcome to today's breakdown. We're going to take a look at the Chicago Bears football team. We're going to start off with the defense. And, before we get rolling, guys, hopefully your Halloween went well, guys. Out here in North Carolina, my Halloween was quite interesting as we ended up having a tornado warning for about a 30 to 45-minute period out here by me. So, yeah, started off a little interesting for me, guys. All right, so when I think of the Chicago Bears, especially their defense, what comes to mind for me is a 34 base defense that has really good edge pass rushing, can really shoot the A and B gaps on their blitzes as well, and runs a really unique coverage scheme and something that's typically called a cover 6, which is kind of a combination of like the cover 4 and the cover 2 together. Even mixes in some elements, if you will, of the cover 3, except for they're not playing thirds of the field. But look, it's a unique defense. It's just something that was really a staple underneath Vic Fangio here, and it doesn't look like it's been basically given away underneath Chuck Pagano either. It looks like this is still a defense that is commonly run here in Chicago. So if we're going to talk about Chicago, then we really do need to talk about this Bears defense and the way that they run their defensive alignments here, because that's going to be a key to beating this team. Now, with that said, guys, what I do want to show you is they don't just use that defense. So when they're using their edge pass rush, I did find an interesting tendency they like to use, and I want to show you that on the film. All right, I have a little bit of a scribble for you guys. So I wanted to break down this play before I showed you it. And what you guys have here is simply put a 2-4-5 nickel man cover 1 concept. Okay, so I'm going to break this down starting with the defensive line, guys. You have an interesting situation here because Chicago is good at doing this, and they have players who are able to do this, but they flip Khalil Mack and Leonard Floyd. So they move Khalil Mack over to the left side as left outside, rush passer, and they move Leonard Floyd over to the right side as a pass rusher. Okay, generally speaking, they play on the opposite side of which they're lined up right now. Okay, inside they had for this game Akeem Hicks, who is out on injured reserve, and then they either had Eddie Goldman or Bilal Nichols in there. I'm sorry, they had Roy Robertson Harris beside Akeem Hicks in this play, but for our game's intention, Roy Robertson Harris will be on one side of that as a defense lineman, and then Eddie Goldman or Bilal Nichols will be on the other, guys. So moving out to your coverage scheme, if you look to your right cornerback, so your bottom screen, right side of the defense, left side of the offense, you have Amukamara, who's playing man-to-man with Courtland Sutton. If you look at your slot cornerback, that's Buster Skrine, and you're going to see he signals with one of his hands, and that's the passing off of responsibility to the motioning receiver in Deshaun Hamilton. He passes that responsibility off to safety Clinton Dix. You'll see Clinton Dix has got the really long white line indicating that he's the guy that has that responsibility. So now Skrine has the responsibility of picking up the running back. Okay? If you go over to the left side of the field, we already know that essentially Clinton Dix has the responsibility now of the motioning wide receiver, that slot receiver. So now left cornerback Kyle Fuller is man-to-man with Emmanuel Sanders. Your deep safety, who is not pictured, is Eddie Jackson, and that's that cover 1. He's got that cover 1 responsibility, so nothing should get over him. And then you have your linebackers, your 2 inside linebackers. So you got Danny Trevathan, who is playing the middle. He's that deep middle. And then you got Roquan Smith, the former Georgia product, who has initial responsibility on Fant, the tight end. But when he sees Fant is staying in, then he's going to motion out to a flat area, basically, to cover that flat area once he sees that. This is the basis of this play, and we're going to see how this works out.
Catch it. Touchdown throw. Play action for Flacco getting the pass rush.
If you guys go back to yesterday's film segment, I told you guys something. I said, what did I say about Sidney Jones? When Sidney Jones is thinking, Sidney Jones is thinking. And that was the precipice for me to tell you guys that Sidney Jones is at least respectable in man coverage and just shouldn't be on an NFL roster when it comes to zone coverage. Okay? Take this concept and let's flip it around. When we're talking about a quarterback, come on, we're talking about a veteran quarterback who has won a Super Bowl in Joe Flacco. What they made him do was think long enough. Look, this is a veteran guy. You're not going to confuse him for that long. But they made him think long enough for Khalil Mack to get home with that pass rush. Okay? And basically what they did is they made it somewhat, it wasn't that difficult, but they did make it somewhat difficult to recognize whether or not they were in a man concept. Were they playing, cover four? What were they playing? Quarters coverage? What were they playing? And generally speaking, I would have probably had a good idea. Now, I couldn't be certain. I could have been wrong on this, but I would have had a good idea that they weren't in a quarters coverage, because in quarters coverage, you expect all four of those quarters to be backed off. You wouldn't expect Amukamara to be that close up on the line. He wasn't playing a press concept, but he was pretty close up on the line. Amukamara's positioning could have confused Flacco into trying to diagnose between cover 2, cover 4, quarters, cover 1, or cover 6. And the way he's going to do this is you're looking at Amukamara, he's trying to figure out, is he playing the boundary? If he's playing the boundary, it's cover 6. Are they in cover 1? Is it a man concept? So can we motion somebody and then get someone to follow along to show us that? Or, is this more of a cover 4 instead of a quarters concept? So it's just cover 4, each player having a quarter of the field, and I'm just not seeing those quarters yet. He does take, Hamilton, and he motions Hamilton. When you're motioning Hamilton, what you're looking for is to see, is Buster Skrine going to follow Hamilton? Because if Skrine follows Hamilton, now you know for a fact you're in a man concept, right? We know that he's locked on to that. All right? But what ends up happening is what? Skrine signals, hey, Clinton Dix, you got him now. And now Skrine locks onto the running back, Clinton Dix locks onto Hamilton, and we're in a man concept, but it's being disguised. That slight, hesitation that's going to take Flacco is going to get him sacked. Holding on to the ball just a tenth of a second too long. And that's what they're looking for. So like I said earlier, another staple of this defense is the cover 6. And it is really hard to distinguish cover 1 from cover 6. And it's also hard if a team can play cover 4, can play quarters, can play cover 2, can play cover 6, and can blend in things like, cover 1 and cover 3 concepts. Like, for a quarterback, this becomes a very, very difficult process to figure out exactly what the defense is doing. Okay. And the Bears are principally a cover 6 defense, and I'm going to show you that in a second. But on that particular play, I think what happened to Flacco is he's trying to diagnose, are they in a cover 4, a cover 6, or are they playing cover 1 man? When they motion the back and then no one goes with it, when they motion the receiver, no one goes with the receiver, then that tells them that, okay, we feel comfortable that they're either playing cover 6 or they're going to be in a quarters coverage scheme. And in reality, to me, it looks like they're actually playing cover 1. So it's an interesting wrinkle into the defensive scheme, and it's something I was kind of identifying they were doing when they were really bringing the edge rush with these guys. So I'm going to roll this film, though, now, and I'm going to show you guys what is a really well-disguised cover 4 concept. It looks like it's cover 4 when actually they're in cover 6. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got a little bit of film for you I want you to watch. So this is a staple of the Bears defense, okay? This is a show you cover 4. So you guys can see I conveniently numbered 1, 2, 3, 4 in each quarter zone, right? Give you a cover 4 zone or a quarters look. But in reality, we're playing a principle that's called cover 6. And cover 6 is similar, but not quite the same thing, and it's really good at confusing quarterbacks. So in a cover 6, you're not playing quarter, or quarters defense, or cover 4, what you're really playing is a concept called quarter, quarter, half. So basically, each of your corners are covering the quarter of the field that is inside the numbers, inside those numbers, okay? And then that leaves a single high safety, almost like a cover three, guys, to then play half of the field. But they give you that look of a second safety, like a two look safety look. But in reality, one of those safeties is probably going to come down and play the flat. The other thing with a cover four concept that can become confusing with cover four, guys, is that your safeties could be playing a quarter of the field, or they could be jumping in on one of the slot receivers and taking that away. So it's not easy to identify the Bears defense. And this is a staple of Pagano and back when they had Fangio here.
Flacco to the outside.
What do you think the first snap was? Quarters, right? Yeah, that's the Bears defense.
What makes the Chicago Bears such a headache to play is, even in this particular play I'm showing you, which is the basis of their cover six, right? They're one of their basic coverage schemes. You have to be able to beat the cover six to beat the Bears. Is that even this isn't a straightforward coverage six. And a cover six, the way you can distinguish like cover one from cover six, guys, is by paying attention to if there's a boundary corner. So in a cover six, what you're going to have is either you're going to have quarter, quarter, half, meaning you got one corner playing a quarter of the field, one safety playing a quarter of the field. So they're basically in a cover four principle, right? So basically that safety can be double coverage on a number one receiver. It could play the slot. It could just take whatever comes into a quarter of the field, whatever, right? And then you got another corner or another safety playing half the field, okay? Normally it's the other safety is playing the other half of the field, and the other corner is the boundary corner, meaning he's up close, not necessarily in press, but he's up close on the line, and he's going to cover the flats, okay? Or you can have a concept of where you have a quarter, half quarter, so you got both of your cornerbacks, generally speaking, playing a quarter coverage scheme with I don't know, maybe you got a slot corner coming in or a linebacker playing the flat area, being that, basically the boundary corner, or you got the safety basically who's going to be playing the other quarter of the field. So you got one safety playing half the field, one safety playing a quarter of the field, and you got a cornerback coming up as the boundary corner. The whole principle of this, guys, relies on identifying where the boundary corner is to identify cover six. Chicago didn't even give them the chance to identify the boundary corner. Nobody was playing up to indicate that they were the boundary corner. They gave you a straight up cover four look. So, or cover two, just depending on the way you're looking at it. To me, it looks like cover four more than cover two. However, in saying all this, guys, this is what I'll tell you. Pay attention to the safety on the defensive left, okay? The strong side. That safety is going to defend the flat, and your boundary corner is going to play the half. But the look they're giving you is something completely different. So I'm gonna superimpose a picture over top of this that shows you a basic principle concept of a cover six. Now I want you to imagine the corner is supposed to walk himself up closer to the line of scrimmage there. But then what you got there is a quarter, quarter, half, right? With that safety covering the other half of the field. That corner being up on the boundary, you guys get the principle. However, what the Bears do is they still keep a quarter, quarter, half concept, so a cover six concept. But instead of having the cornerback play the boundary, they have the safety play the boundary. You're going to see the safety. I'm going to roll the video again, but you're going to see the safety comes flying into that, basically that boundary, that flat, and destroys that flat pass. This is what's frustrating about the Chicago Bears. We have to be on alert for this stuff.
Flacco to the outside.
So for me, guys, the key to beating the Chicago Bears team is to beat its defense. It's to figure out the cover six. When we're talking about the cover six, guys, remember what I told you. It's trying to figure out when the Bears are in cover six, identifying who the boundary corner is, because that's the dead giveaway that you're in a cover six, and understanding that in a cover six, a boundary corner is not the same. It's a slight mutation of what that term means. So generally speaking, when we talk about a boundary corner, guys, all we're talking about is a corner that is basically on an island that's basically, if you will, outside the numbers. So generally speaking, when you talk about a boundary corner, you're normally talking about a corner that may not have safety help. In a cover six, it's not quite that. In a cover six, it's a guy that's kind of playing up Generally speaking, they're going to play up on you, not necessarily press, but they're going to play up, and they're basically going to take away a flat area. They're responsible for reading, reacting, and taking away a flat area, and then normally you would have then a deep half, either corner, safety, whoever it is. It's normally a safety, whether it's the strong or the free, who takes over that half of the field. When you identify it, when you see it, you got to attack it. But you got to remember, the Bears are good at disguising this stuff, guys. They could be playing cover 2. They could be playing cover 4. They could be playing quarters. They could be playing cover 6. They might even be in a man concept cover 1. They're good at this. Like I said, though, I did notice when they have a tendency to try to bring edge pressure with like Mac and their other edge pass rusher, they do have a tendency to try to go cover 1. They try to go man-to-man cover 1. And it's going to take a good quarterback like Carson Wentz, to identify what the defense is doing and beat it. This is a huge, huge key to the game for me, guys. Beating this Bears defense. All right, y'all. I'm not going to go into the offense in this video, man, because it's already too long. But hopefully this was really insightful. This was helpful, guys. If you have questions, hit me up down below. Tell me what you think about this Bears defense. I will tell you this. Their inside linebacker play has not lived up to expectations this year. Although I will say this. Don't sleep on Trevathan. Don't sleep on Roquan Smith, because those guys are still very good, and in any given game, they could come back and be who they are supposed to be. So we can't really sleep on them. All right, y'all. Let me know what you think. You know what time it is. Like, comment, subscribe. My name is Steven Hyder, Gate City Sports Channel, and here we end our videos by going E-A-G-L-E-S. All right, Eagles. Let's go get that victory, guys.